We've had 12 years of war, and during those 12 years, 2.6 million Americans have served in some capacity. About 6,800 Americans are dead from these conflicts. Another 60,000 or so have been wounded in action, and hundreds of thousands more have been wounded in other ways, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
And when it comes to coming home and the transition to civilian life, it can be really hard. And certainly that's been the case for veterans in our past wars. It's definitely the case for the current service members. Note here that 4 in 10 say the transition was tough. Half think the military isn't doing enough to help with that.
The first time I came home, I was working on Capitol Hill for a congressman and was off the grid for close to 14 months. And when I came back, I realized that someone had filled my position, legislative priorities had changed, many things had adjusted in that job, and I really wasn't needed anymore. It was a little shocking to me, and I wasn't prepared for that, because when we demobilized, we literally, as reservists, got 3 days and we were back out, and that was it. There was nothing set up in early 2003.
I think they're coming home to a country that's largely disconnected from these wars, that doesn't pay attention to them very much. It doesn't feel invested in them, either in their outcome or really understand them, because they're complicated and they're far away.
When you do the math, as our polling whizzes did, they found that 52% say either physical or mental health is worse today. That's pretty stunning. And then you look at, you say, how do these people feel about the services that are being provided by the government? And when you get levels of dissatisfaction, in some cases that, again, are north of 50%, I need only remind you all of the political debate that's swirling around this town today with regard to the VA, that's incredibly profound. And then you ask them, how do you feel about your readjustment? How do you feel about re-entering the civilian world? And when 55% of them say they feel disconnected from civilian life in America, whoa.
What I didn't realize was that while I was serving alongside many active duty folks, their families were at home and they were connected and they were together. They were able to talk. My parents were in their beautiful retirement home hanging out in Arizona by themselves. So when I picked up the phone the first time I got wounded and I called them, I said, hey guys, how you doing? Everything's cool in Fallujah. Got shot in the face. I'm all right though. All right, you guys have a good one. I hung up the phone and Mom she had nowhere to go. She had no one to call, no neighbor.
We also have a call center that's a peer support call center. We also have the vet centers who are amazing. We love our vet centers who are primarily for combat veterans and tend to have a lot of veterans who work for them. They have their own combat veteran peer call center. So the idea of having peers more and more involved in care, especially mental health care, is absolutely correct and true.
What I always would hope that we would be able to get to, and we've had discussions, and I say we as in veteran advocates and people in the private sector, have talked to the Department of Defense and really made it clear that you're the first line of defense with respect to a good transition for service members. When they're getting ready to leave the active military, where do you start that process to help them get ready for the civilian world? Right now, it varies greatly.
I think that that's part of adapting is really talking with people who aren't necessarily veterans and being able to see that people care, even though they didn't serve there as well.
It can't just be the responsibility of the civilian sector to say, okay, we've got to learn how to deal with the military as they're transitioning out, but we have a responsibility to help guide people on what it is that we need and what issues that we want to focus on.
All of the people we've described in our story so far, there are versions of them all over the place trying to recover from these wars, and this is a significant part of our population.